Thank you all for coming. My name is Sharon Wilson. I'm the Texas organizer for Earthworks Oil and Gas Accountability Project. Earthworks is a non-profit organization that works nationwide to help communities deal with the impacts of irresponsible drilling and mining. I live in Denton County in the heart of the Barnett Shale Formation, and for the last 6 years I have seen and heard stories of the havoc that uncontrolled and virtually unregulated drilling and fracking are wreaking on the health and safety of the people in North Texas. The report we are releasing today gives voice to the families and communities on the front lines of this public health crisis. It brings together for the first time detailed results of local, state, federal, and independent testing of air and water throughout the Barnett Shale region, as well as health effects data linking resident symptoms to drilling and fracking chemicals found in those tests. The report also examines the response of local, state, and federal officials and concludes that the existing regulatory system has not only failed, but is currently incapable of protecting Texans exposed to such hazardous industrial activity in their own backyards. And it sounds a warning for residents in other parts of the state where the gas drilling boom is spreading, such as the Eagle Ford Formation in South Texas. We're trying to lift the veil of denial that hangs over the gas patch. Victims deny their symptoms until they no longer can. Spouses doubt each other as doctor after doctor can find no medical cause for rashes, headaches, oozing sores, nosebleeds, memory loss, and other health problems. Neighbors who profit blame the victims and turn against neighbors who are suffering. News media refers to alleged health effects. Regulators find no violations, and industry and politicians say there is no proof. Every victim I have met goes through the same stages. First is shock when they realize their taxes do not go toward any meaningful protection from these irresponsible industrial processes. Then they face the denial and paralyzing fear that maybe the health symptoms are imaginary and there is really nothing wrong. If they do conquer the fear and denial, and if they are lucky enough to find a knowledgeable doctor, then comes the relief when they receive medical confirmation. They are actually relieved to learn that their suffering is explained by drilling chemicals in their body. Our report brings together citizen reports of health, safety, and property impacts across multiple counties. These examples are real, not coincidences or isolated examples. It's time to stop denying the evidence. Our current laws make it difficult to tie a specific exposure or health effect to a specific well, but residents know the truth. Where drilling goes, problems follow. The gas boom has created areas in North Texas that are no longer inhabitable. Families are abandoning their homes because they have no other choice for recovering their health and long-term well-being. Our state regulators are either incapable of an adequate response because of limited resources, or they are indifferent. They have failed miserably to protect public health and safety. Instead of enforcing the necessary regulations, our state regulators and elected officials ask, what is the threshold of allowable toxins in our neighborhoods, on our farmland, and in our water? How much toluene, a chemical that targets the central nervous system and causes kidney and liver damage, is acceptable in a toddler's body? They ask some families to sacrifice their health and property values so other families have a job. Instead of protecting us, they decide who suffers. Responsibility for this failure is shared by many agencies and officials, but the shameful record of the Texas Railroad Commission merits special censure. Time and time again, they have taken the side of the oil and gas industry against the citizens of Texas. It's time for the Railroad Commission to stop being the industry lapdog and become the people's watchdog. Our recommendations for reform and policy and procedures are contained in the report. We need our legislators, state and federal agencies to take immediate and specific action to reform rather than small incremental steps. We are pleased that some Texas legislators are trying to address the problem with bills that would protect citizens with more protection and information. One of these is Senator Lon Burnam from Fort Worth, and we're very pleased he could be here with us today.
Thank you, Sharon, and thank you all the OGAP volunteers for publishing this excellent report. I've had an opportunity to review it very briefly, and there's a lot of very important information in it. I do appreciate the promotion, Sharon, but for the record, I'm not a senator yet. As a member of the House, I'm struggling to get other members of the House, particularly the members of the House Energy Resources Committee, to pay attention to the 5 bills that I've filed in that committee and have had hearings on to try to better regulate the industry. For too long, oil and gas policy has been the exclusive terrain of powerful corporations and well-heeled lobbyists in this state. But the increasing numbers of Texans and Americans that are blessed and cursed to live on top of shale formations are sick, and I mean literally sick, and tired of being treated like lab rats. It's not just in Texas. In Wyoming, Colorado, Pennsylvania, New York, and many places across the country, children are waking up in the middle of the night with nosebleeds. Mothers are lighting water from their faucets on fire. Families are abandoning their homes under orders from their doctors. Home values are plummeting due to the invasion by gas drilling operations, and property is being unjustly condemned by profit-seeking companies. I had an amendment on that yesterday in the eminent domain 5. As this report points out, current Texas law does not adequately protect the breathers, the drinkers, and the property owners that have been forced to live with gas wells, compressor stations, and pipelines. I could stand here and talk until sine die about the failures of current regulation. The Sunset Commission hit the nail on the head, pointing out that in 2009, the Railroad Commission inspectors found over 80,000 violations, but the Commission issued penalties only 3% of those cases. The TCQ just recently strengthened its air permits for oil and gas production equipment in the Barnett Shale, but it doesn't require operators to install a single control device. These things must change. It is very, very frustrating working in the context of the Texas legislature because the industry has so controlled the state government for so long. But they won't change until more people say, I won't be bought off with your royalty check. Things won't change until more people elect leaders that care more about health and public safety than about drilling profits, including certain school board members in my Fort Worth ISD. And until industry treats us like neighbors instead of nuances, I, for one, am sick and tired of being treated like a third world person that exists only to be exploited for profit by the oil and gas interest in this state. I hope with this report, more people will understand how our health is being abused.